Lyra ran through the dark forest, her small feet hitting the cold ground again and again as she tried to stay ahead of the shadows behind her. The night on her planet was never quiet, but tonight the forest felt angry. The trees shook as if something powerful was moving between them. Strange blue insects glowed in the air, lighting her path for only a second before fading again. She held a clay water jar close to her chest, guarding it like her life depended on it. And in truth, it did. She whispered to herself, trying to stay brave. Mother, hold on. I am coming. Every day she walked this same path. Every day she risked her life to bring clean water home. And every day the monsters grew bolder, stronger, hungrier. Lyra knew they watched her from the dark places of the forest. She could hear them soft clicking sounds, like claws tapping on stone. She had heard those sounds since she was a child. Her people called them night eaters, creatures that fed on anything warm and alive. Tonight they sounded closer than ever. The forest fog thickened around her. The air felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. Lyra tried to move fast, but her legs were tired. She had spent half the day walking to the old water spring. It was the only clean water left on this side of the planet. All other springs were poisoned, destroyed by wars, long before she was born. Her mother had grown weaker. The sickness had spread in her body. Without water, she would die. Suddenly, Lyra heard a low growl from behind. She spun around. Two glowing eyes stared at her from the bush. Her heart jumped. She stepped back slowly, her hands shaking. She knew the night eaters hunted in groups. If one was here, more would come. She took a deep breath and started to run. Branches slapped against her arms. Roots tried to trip her. She could hear the creature chasing her, its claws scratching the earth, fast and sharp. Lyra knew she could not outrun it. She was small, and the night eaters were born hunters. She looked around desperately for a hiding place. She spotted a hollow tree with just enough space for her body. She threw herself inside and covered her mouth with her hand. The creature's heavy footsteps stopped right in front of the tree. Lyra froze. A long snout pushed into the hollow. Hot breath touched her cheek. She could smell the creature's rotten scent. Tears filled her eyes, but she stayed silent. The creature sniffed again, and let out a loud, angry screech. It scraped its claws against the bark, trying to reach her. Wood splintered. Lyra held her breath. Then something strange happened. A bright white light flashed across the forest, cutting through the fog like a blade. The creature screamed and retreated. Its shadow disappeared among the trees. Lyra blinked. The light felt warm, almost gentle. But the forest was never gentle. Not here. She crawled out of the hollow tree, confused and shaking. The air smelled different, now not like moss or fog. It smelled metallic. Then she saw him. A tall figure stepped through the fog, wearing a strange silver suit that glowed softly. Blue lights ran across his armor like tiny rivers. He held a device in his hand that hummed quietly, sending waves of light into the trees. The night eaters kept their distance. They hissed, then slowly melted into the darkness. Lyra stared at the figure. She had heard stories about humans, but everyone said they were only myths. Travelers from the stars. Powerful beings who came and left without warning. Her people whispered that humans were dangerous, cold, and heartless. But this one had saved her life. The figure turned toward her. The glow from his visor faded, revealing a human face strong, calm, and strangely kind. He looked at her with gentle eyes. "You don't need to run anymore," he said softly. Lyra stepped back, scared. Who are you?" "My name is Rael," he said. His voice was warm, but something in his tone felt heavy, like he carried a secret. Lyra didn't trust him, not yet. "Why are you here?" she asked. Rael looked around the dark forest, scanning the fog. "Because you needed help." Lyra frowned. "But you don't know me." A small smile touched Rael's lips. "Lyra," he said quietly, "I know more about you than you think." Her breath caught in her throat. How did he know her name? Had he followed her? Was he watching her all this time? Fear and confusion grew inside her. Rael took a step forward, but he didn't raise his hands or make any sudden moves. He spoke gently, like he didn't want to frighten her. "Your mother. She is sick, isn't she?" Lyra felt her heart stop. "How do you know that?" she whispered. Rael didn't answer. Instead, he lowered his device, letting its glow fade. The forest grew darker again, but the night-eaters stayed away. "Lyra," Rael said, looking straight into her eyes, "I came because tonight something was going to happen to you. Something terrible. But I could not let it happen." Lyra's hands tightened around the water jar. The night wind whispered between the trees. A heavy silence fell over the forest dot. Why was this human here? Why did he save her? And how did he know so much about her? One thing was clear: Lyra's life had just changed forever. Lyra did not move for a long moment. The human named Rael stood in the fog, waiting silently as she tried to understand what was happening. She felt cold wind on her face, but her hands were warm from holding the water jar. Her mind raced with questions. Why was this human here? Why did he know her name? Why did he know about her mother? Rael finally spoke. "We should leave this place," he said gently. "The night-eaters will return soon." Lyra took a slow step back. "I don't trust you," she said. He nodded, as if expecting that. "You don't have to trust me," he replied. "Just don't stay in this forest. Not tonight." The ground rumbled softly beneath their feet. The night-eaters were gathering again. Lyra looked toward the path home. It was long, dark, and full of danger. If she walked alone, she might not survive. Her mother needed the water. She had no choice. She swallowed hard. "Fine," she whispered. "But don't come too close." Rael smiled, but it was a sad smile, as if something in his heart hurt. "I will keep my distance." They began walking through the forest. Rael stayed behind her, scanning the trees with his glowing device. Every time a creature moved in the shadows, the device hummed softly, and the monsters backed away. Lyra had never seen anything like it. "What is that?" she asked. "Just a tool," Rael answered. "It sends a signal that the night-eaters don't like." She nodded slowly. She had heard stories about human technology machines that could move mountains, heal wounds, control storms. But she never believed the stories. Now she wasn't sure. For several minutes they walked in silence. Only the wind and distant growls filled the air. Then Rael said something that made her stop. "You walk this path every day?" Lyra turned to him sharply. "How do you know that?" Rael looked down at the ground. "Because I have been watching." Her heart skipped. "Watching me? Why?" "What do you want?" Rael raised both hands, showing he meant no harm. "I wasn't following you to scare you. I was trying to protect you." "But why me?" Lyra asked. "There are many people in the valley." "Why protect me?" "Because you are the only one who still goes to the spring," he said quietly. "You are brave. You take risks for someone you love." Lyra felt confused. "You watched me risk my life. You could have helped sooner." Rael's face tightened. "I could not reveal myself. Your people fear humans." He wasn't wrong. Her village believed humans brought danger. No one had seen a human in many years, but the stories were still told around the fires. Lyra walked faster, trying to put distance between them. But Rael kept pace. After a moment he said, Your mother's illness. I know what it is. Lyra froze. She turned slowly toward him. Tell me. Rael looked troubled. He hesitated. It's called the silver fever, he said. It spreads slowly, but it gets worse without clean water. And it does not have a cure you can make on your own. Lyra felt fear grip her stomach. You know how to cure it? Rael nodded once. Yes, but the medicine is not with me. Her heart fell. Then why are you here? You helped me. But you cannot save her? I can, Rael said softly. But I need something first. Something rare. Lyra stared at him. What? A plant, Rael said. A blue crystal vine. It grows only in one place inside the Forbidden Canyon. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. No, that place is death. No one goes there. I know, Rael said. But I must. Lyra looked down at the water jar in her hands. Her mother's face flashed in her mind, weak, pale, breathing slowly. What if you are lying? Lyra whispered. Rael didn't look offended. He simply pointed at a small scar on his wrist. A thin, glowing line pulsed under his skin. Humans keep their promises, he said quietly, especially to those who show courage. Lyra didn't know if she should believe him, but she knew she had no other hope. If she did nothing, her mother would not survive another week. She turned away and kept walking. Rael followed without a word. They soon reached the edge of the forest. Beyond the trees, the valley stretched out. Soft golden lights glowed from the roofs of Lyra's village. She felt relief as she stepped onto familiar ground, but Rael stopped at the border. You should go home, he said. You are safe now. Lyra looked at him. You're not coming with me? Rael shook his head. Your people will be afraid if they see me. Lyra thought for a moment. You saved my life. I can tell them that. Rael smiled again, that same sad smile. They will not believe you. Not yet. The wind grew colder. Rael adjusted a small device on his wrist. I will return, he said. Tomorrow night, after the second moon rises. Lyra blinked. Why? To go to the Forbidden Canyon, Rael replied. To find the plant that will save your mother. Lyra felt her throat tighten. I want to go with you. Rael looked surprised. It will be dangerous. I already walk with danger every day, she said. For my mother, I will go anywhere. Rael looked at her for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. Very well, he said. Tomorrow, we go together. Lyra watched him walk back into the fog until he vanished completely. A cold fear and warm hope battled inside her chest. Tomorrow, everything would change again. Lyra reached her small home at the edge of the village, her heart beating fast from fear, hope, and exhaustion. The air inside smelled of herbs, smoke, and sickness. Her mother lay on a simple bed made of woven vines. Her skin had turned pale and cold, and silver lines glowed faintly across her arms. The clear sign of the silver fever. Lyra placed the water jar beside her and touched her mother's forehead gently. It felt too warm. Too weak. Mother, she whispered, her voice trembling. I am back. Her mother opened her eyes slowly. They were dull, tired, but full of love. Lyra, you are safe, she whispered, coughing softly. Did anything happen? Lyra quickly wiped her eyes. No, I am fine. I got the water. She didn't mention the human. She didn't mention the night eaters. She didn't mention the promise to enter the Forbidden Canyon. Her mother was already weak. She didn't want to give her more fear. Lyra helped her drink a little water. It was the only thing slowing the fever. But it was not enough. Not anymore. After her mother fell asleep, Lyra sat beside her for a long time, thinking about Rael. A human something she only heard in stories had saved her. A human knew her name. A human knew her mother's sickness. And now he wanted to go to the most dangerous place on the planet. For her doc? Why? She needed answers. But morning came too quickly, and the questions stayed heavy in her heart. When the second moon began to rise that night, Lyra slipped out of her house. The village was quiet. Everyone believed the Forbidden Canyon was cursed. Even the bravest hunters refused to go near it. Lyra walked toward the forest. And just like he promised, Rael stepped out of the fog. "You came," he said softly. "I said I would," Lyra replied. Rael studied her face and nodded. "Are you ready?" "No," Lyra admitted, "but I must go." Rael turned on a small floating light that hovered above his shoulder. "Stay close," he said. "The path to the canyon is full of things you have never seen." They entered the forest again, but this time Lyra didn't feel completely alone. Rael walked beside her, checking the shadows with his strange device. Every time a creature got close, he raised his hand and sent a wave of energy that pushed it back. After a long walk, the trees thinned, and the ground cracked open into a wide, deep valley. Sharp rocks curved like broken teeth. A cold wind rose from below. The air tasted metallic. Lyra shivered. "This is it," she whispered. "The Forbidden Canyon." Rael gazed at it with a serious expression. "There is something you must know before we go down." Lyra's heart tightened. "What is it?" Rael placed his hand on the metal plate on his chest. "You remember when I told you that I know the sickness your mother has?" "Yes," Lyra said. "There is a reason," he continued. "A reason humans know this illness. A reason we know how to cure it. And a reason I came to your planet." Lyra stared at him, tense. "Tell me." Rael took a slow breath. "Silver fever was created by humans." Lyra felt like the ground disappeared under her. She grabbed a rock to steady herself. "Created? You mean? My mother is dying because of humans?" Rael looked hurt, but didn't hide the truth. "Long ago, humans fought a war on this planet. They created the fever as a weapon. But things went wrong. It spread. It still lives in some places. Like your valley." Lyra stepped away from him. Anger burned in her chest. "So all this time, the stories were true. Humans bring danger." Rael shook his head. "Not all humans. Not anymore. The ones who made the weapon are gone. But their mistakes remain. And I came to fix those mistakes." Lyra wanted to scream, but no sound came out. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "Because you already feared me," Rael whispered. "I didn't want to lose your trust." She looked away, tears stinging her eyes. "You never had my trust." Rael did not argue. He only said, "You want to save your mother. So do I, and the only cure grows inside this canyon." He stepped toward the edge and began climbing down. Lyra hesitated, her heart full of fear and anger. But then she imagined her mother's weak breathing, her shaking hands, her fading voice. She wiped her tears and followed Rael down the canyon walls. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Strange metal structures stuck out from the rock's old human machines, half buried and dead. Some still glowed faintly with blue sparks. Lyra stared at them with wide eyes. "What is all this?" she asked. "Ruins from the war," Rael said. "Humans built these labs to create the fever, and to contain it. But they failed." Lyra touched a metal pipe. It felt warm, like something alive pulsed inside. They reached the canyon floor. The ground was covered with glowing blue plants crystal vines with sharp glass-like leaves. They sparkled like stars. Rael knelt beside one. "This is what we need," he said. "But the plant is protected." "Protected by what?" Lyra asked. A deep growl answered her. "From the darkness, 3 giant creatures crawled forward. They were bigger than night eaters, long bodies, bone masks, and silver dripping from their jaws. Rael stood in front of Lyra. "Stay behind me." These creatures were born from the fever, and they are far more dangerous. The monsters circled them, snarling. Lyra felt fear crawl up her spine. She didn't know if Rael could protect them both. She didn't know if they would survive long, enough to get the cure. But she knew one thing. There was no turning back now. The creatures circled slowly, their bone masks glowing faint silver in the canyon light. Lyra could hear their heavy breathing, the soft clicking of their claws on the cold ground, and the strange wet sound of the silver fever dripping from their jaws. She stepped closer to Rael, her hands trembling. Rael activated a panel on his wrist. A bright pulse of blue energy shot out, making the creatures step back with angry screeches. But they didn't run. They kept circling, watching, waiting. "They are smarter than night eaters," Rael whispered. "They learn quickly. They hunt in packs." Lyra swallowed hard. "Can we fight them?" "Not for long," he said. "We must take the plant and escape fast." He reached down to cut one of the crystal vines, but the biggest creature lunged forward. Rael blocked it with the energy shield, but the impact sent him sliding across the ground. Sparks flew from his armor. Lyra gasped. "Rael, I'm fine," he shouted. "Grab the vine. Go." Lyra reached for the shimmering plant. The glass-like leaves cut her fingers, but she didn't stop. She pulled the vine free, clutching it tightly. The plant pulsed with a faint blue glow, but the creatures saw her. All 3 turned toward her, growling. Rael ran toward her, limping slightly. "Lyra, move." A creature jumped at her. At the last second, Rael slammed into it, knocking it away. His armor cracked, and the blue lights flickered. Lyra could see blood dripping from his shoulder. "No!" she cried. "You're hurt." Rael forced a smile. "It's nothing. Just run." The creatures regrouped. Their silver-dripping forms were shaking with rage. One creature let out a deep roar, and the air vibrated. Rael grabbed Lyra's arm. "We need to climb now." They ran toward the canyon wall. Rael pushed Lyra upward. "Go first." She climbed as fast as she could, gripping sharp rocks, pulling herself up the steep wall. Her hands burned. Her legs shook. But fear kept her moving. Below her, Rael fought the creatures, using his energy shield to block attacks. Every strike sent him stumbling. His armor was failing. The blue lights dimmed more each second. "Rael, come up," she shouted. He didn't answer. He was too busy trying to stay alive. One creature bit into his leg. Rael screamed in pain and fell to one knee. Lyra felt her heart crack. "No, Rael. Please." Rael looked up at her with a weak smile. "Keep climbing, Lyra. Save your mother." She shook her head violently. "I'm not leaving you." He fired a blast of energy that threw the creature back, but his hand shook from weakness. He looked up at her again. "You have the cure. You must go. I can hold them off." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "But you'll die." He laughed softly, breathless. Humans don't die easily. Another creature charged him. He blocked it, but the impact sent him crashing against the canyon wall. His visor cracked. Lyra made a choice. She climbed back down. "Lyra, what are you doing?" Rael shouted. "I'm not leaving you to die." She yelled back. She jumped onto one of the creature's backs and hit it with a rock. The bone mask cracked. The creature shrieked and threw her to the ground, but she got up again, dizzy but determined. Rael looked shocked. "Why would you risk your life for me?" "Because you risked yours for me first," she said, grabbing another rock. "Because you saved me. Because..." Because I don't want the only human who ever helped me to die alone. Rael stared at her like her words hit him, harder than the creatures did. The creatures charged again. Rael grabbed Lyra and pushed her behind him. Stay behind me. I will end this. He pressed a button on his armor. A loud alarm beeped. Lyra's eyes widened. What did you do? My suit still has one emergency blast, Rael said. A shockwave strong enough to knock them out. But it will hurt you too. Rael smiled weakly. Then I will survive the pain. The creatures leaped at them. Rael slammed his hand on the device. A massive wave of blue energy exploded from his suit. The ground cracked. Rocks shattered. The creatures slammed into the canyon walls and fell unconscious. Their bodies twitching. The echo faded. Lyra lay on the ground, ears ringing. She looked to her side. Rael was motionless. His armor smoked. The lights were dark. His helmet was shattered. Blood ran down his arm. Rael? She whispered. He didn't move. Lyra crawled to him and shook his shoulders. Rael, wake up. Please. His chest rose slowly, very slowly. He was still alive, but barely. His eyes opened a little. Lyra, take the plant. Go home. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not leaving you. You must, he whispered. Your mother needs you. I will find you later. You can't even stand. She cried. Rael managed a tiny smile. Humans are stubborn. Lyra held his hand tightly. She didn't want to let go. But she knew he was right. Her mother's life was in her hands now. She stood up, wiped her tears, and looked at Rael with all the strength she had left. I will come back for you, she said. I promise. Rael nodded weakly. I know. Lyra climbed out of the canyon, holding the glowing vine to her chest. Behind her, the human who saved her lay bleeding and broken, but still alive. The night sky stretched above her. Silent and cold. Her mother's life waited at home. Rael's life waited behind her. And Lyra knew. This was not the end. The real fight was still ahead. Lyra reached the top of the canyon just as the first light of dawn touched the sky. Her hands were bleeding. Her legs shook with every step. But she held the glowing crystal vine tightly against her chest. It was warm, almost alive. Inside it was the cure, the one thing that could save her mother's life. Behind her, the canyon was quiet. Rael's body lay deep below, hidden in the shadows. Lyra looked back one last time. She whispered, Stay alive. I will return. Then she ran. The journey back to the village felt longer than ever. Her heart was heavy with fear and hope fighting inside her chest. Every time she heard a noise, she looked back, expecting night eaters or silver creatures to appear. But the forest stayed strangely calm, as if the world itself knew Lyra carried something precious. She reached the village when the suns began to rise. People looked at her with surprise. She was covered in dirt, blood, and glowing blue dust. Some villagers stepped back in fear when they saw the crystal vine in her hands. Where did she go? Someone whispered. That plant is cursed, another said. She went to the Forbidden Canyon. Lyra ignored them all. She ran straight to her small home and pushed the door open. Her mother lay on her bed, breathing shallow and weak. The silver lines on her skin were brighter now, spreading faster. Mother, please stay with me, Lyra said, kneeling beside her. Her hands shook as she broke open the crystal vine. A soft liquid glowed inside, blue like the sky just before dawn. It poured out like water, but sparkled like stars. Lyra carefully placed the liquid into a small cup and held it to her mother's lips. Drink, she whispered. Please. Her mother swallowed slowly. For a moment, nothing happened. Lyra held her breath. Then her mother gasped a long, painful breath, but her eyes opened wider. The silver lines on her skin began to fade, slowly at first, then faster. Her pale skin warmed. Her trembling stopped. Color returned to her cheeks. "Lyra," her mother whispered, tears forming in her eyes. What did you do?" Lyra hugged her tightly. "I saved you," she said, crying with relief. "Rael helped me. A human helped me." Her mother froze. "A human?" "Yes," Lyra said, wiping her tears. "He saved me. He risked his life in the canyon. He gave everything to help us." Her mother touched Lyra's face gently. "Then he is no monster, but a friend." Lyra nodded, her heart aching with worry. "But he is hurt, very hurt. I must go back for him." Her mother tried to sit up, but Lyra stopped her. "No, you rest. I will return." I promised him. But before Lyra could leave, a deep vibration filled the village. The ground shook lightly. People ran out of their homes, looking at the sky in fear. A bright silver light flashed above the forest. Lyra's eyes widened. She knew this feeling. She had seen this light once before. "Rael," she whispered. She ran toward the forest. Her mother tried calling her name, but Lyra didn't stop. Her legs carried her faster than ever. Her heart beat loud in her ears. She reached the forest edge and froze. Something was moving through the fog. A tall figure, limping, sparks flickering from his armor. Rael. He stepped out into the sunlight, his face pale, his suit broken, his movements slow. But he was alive. Lyra ran to him. "Rael," she cried. He smiled weakly. "You made it home. Good." She grabbed his arm. "You survived. Thank the stars." Rael's knees gave out, and Lyra helped him sit against a tree trunk. His breathing was heavy. His armor was cracked in several places. He looked exhausted yet peaceful. "You saved her," Rael said, looking at her gently. "Yes," Lyra said softly. "Because of you." Rael reached into a damaged pouch on his belt. He took out a small silver device round, with a blue core that shimmered faintly. "I brought something for you." "And for your people," he said. Lyra frowned. "What is it?" "Water," Rael said simply. "Clean water, forever." She stared at him in shock. "Forever?" Rael nodded. "This device can purify any water source, even poisoned rivers, even the old springs. You will never have to walk into danger again." Lyra couldn't speak. She felt her throat tighten with emotion. Rael placed the device in her hands. "I fixed a piece of human history today," he whispered. "But you fixed something more important." "What?" Lyra asked quietly. Rael smiled softly. "You reminded me why humans must do better." Before she could answer, Rael reached out and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "You showed courage," he said. "More than many warriors I have known." Lyra felt tears rising in her eyes again. "I didn't save you in the canyon," she whispered. "I couldn't." "But you came back," Rael said. "That is enough." A soft wind blew between the trees. The forest felt calm for the first time in years. Lyra looked at Rael. "Will you stay here?" "With us?" Rael closed his eyes for a moment, thinking. "Yes," he said finally. "If your people will accept me, I will stay." Lyra smiled. "I will make them accept you." Rael opened his eyes again. "Then, this is a new beginning." Lyra nodded. "For all of us." Together, they stood up. Lyra held the purifier close. Rael leaned on her shoulder for support. The human and the young girl walked back toward the village, toward a future shaped by bravery, forgiveness, and hope. And on that day, the world changed. Not because of a weapon, not because of fear, but because a human chose to help and a brave girl chose to believe.